Okay, everybody, welcome back to another movie review. These are all of the movies that I watched in February. As per usual, there will probably be spoilers on this, so just a little spoiler warning if you are interested in any of these movies. First up, we have got We Live in Time. We've got Andrew Garfield and Florence Poe in this, a bisexual's dream, to be quite honest with you. Basically, it's romantic drama centered on a couple whose relationship unfolds across different points in time rather than a straightforward linear way. So as you're watching it, there's different parts of their stories that are thrown in. It's in future, then sometimes we're in the past, sometimes we're just in Tobias's past, sometimes we're just in Almut's past, and then sometimes we're in them both merged together. The film follows their first meeting. You know, let's be real, Florence Poe can run me over any day with a car. And it just shows the evolution of their bond and the challenges that test them. The sequence of the movie also mirrors how your memories actually feel. They're quite fragmented, intense, and non-linear, and sometimes you really need to pay attention in order to catch on with what's happening. The story explores intimacy, vulnerability, and the fear of losing something meaningful. Honestly, this was absolutely heart-wrenching to watch towards the end. Alma gets diagnosed with cancer, and it's sort of them both trying to make the most of the last moments that they have together. There's themes of morality, commitment, ambition, and timing that shape the emotional weight of the narrative. Rather than this being really plot driven, it's more character focused and really immerses you in Andrew Garfield's character and Florence Poe's character as well. And it's sort of about what it really means to truly live life with someone and love them even when time isn't on your side. This was a 4-star movie for me. It was just brilliant, and honestly, such a good way to start off the month. Next up, we've got Inglourious Basterds. This is set in World War II. It's a drama that blends war thriller and dark comedy. It is set in Nazi-occupied France, and the story sort of follows two plots. It follows this lady who owns a cinema, and she is trying to get her revenge on all of the Nazis that are coming to watch this premiere movie at her cinema, but it also follows a group of Jewish American soldiers known as the Bastards, who carry out brutal attacks designed to terrorize the Germans. Honestly, this movie, it just has you on the edge of your seat the whole time. I mean, the scene where the British officer who is pretending to be German does 3 instead of doing 3. It's just crazy that something as small as that can give away the fact that he wasn't actually a German soldier. It's really dialogue heavy, this movie, and the scenes stretch with a lot of tension, especially in the first scene. This Nazi soldier comes into this man's house and is trying to figure out if there is Jews living in his house. The guy's like, no, there's not. And this just drags on and on and on and on and on until you find out that this guy is actually keeping Jews in his house. And, it's like polite conversation just slowly turns into psychological warfare. At its centre is a chillingly charismatic performance by Christopher Waltz, whose portrayal of the calculating Nazi officer elevates the film's suspense. Really, the acting in this is great, and it's what adds all of the character and tension in the movie. This movie for me was easily a 4.5 stars. It's just an action-packed Tarantino movie, everything that you could expect and more, and the ending is just so satisfying too. Next up, we've got The Birdcage. This is a fast-paced comedy about family, identity, and chaos that erupts when two very different worlds collide. So the story basically follows this flamboyant gay couple who own a nightclub, and one of them is a drag performer, and their lives are kind of thrown into absolute chaos and upheaval when their son announces that he's getting married, but to this absolute ultra conservative political family. It's just very comedic with the way that they do it. In order to make them seem traditional, the couple tries to tone down their personalities. At first, we think that one of the partners, who is the drag performer, is away, and the son's birth mother appears to be on her way to come and be the mum in this so that they can appear as a conventional family. However, she is told not to come. The drag performer acts like a woman in this as though he is the son's mother. It's absolutely amazing, and ultimately it's just a story about chosen family, authenticity, and the quiet courage it takes to live openly. It is really such a beautiful gay movie to watch, and shows that ultimately you should just be yourself no matter what. The film is unapologetically theatrical and over the top, and its heart just lies in the insistence that love in all of its forms deserves to be seen and celebrated. It's a great movie by Robin Williams, and I did give this a 3.5 stars, but after really thinking about this, it's getting 4 stars from me. Next up, we have got Shutter Island. Wow, this movie blew me out of the water when I watched it. It's basically a psychological mystery that is set in the 1950s, and it follows a US Marshal and his partner who travel to a remote island asylum to investigate the disappearance of a patient. From the start, it sort of just feels as though there's something not right with this place. There's something off about it. All of the workers are very evasive. Everybody seems on edge, and 2 and 2 is not making 4 in this movie. Things are just not really adding up properly. The film thrives on paranoia. It shows that this whole island is in control of absolutely everything that goes on. There's storms that cut off the island from the mainland. Everything on this island is contained. The ferry can only enter or leave if the owner of this place says so, and inside it feels like there's something just going on here. As the investigation deepens, a lot of questions about trauma, guilt, and the reliability of memory take centre stage, and it forces both the protagonist and the audience to question what is real. In the end, it follows Leonardo DiCaprio, and in the movie, it unravels as what seems to be this island is manipulating the US Marshal and his partner into thinking that they are insane. But by the time it gets to the end, it actually shows you that Leonardo DiCaprio is one of the patients of this island. It's crazy, and by the time it reaches the final act, the Shutter Island shifts from a mystery about a missing person into a meditation on denial and self-deception. And it just leaves you with so many questions at the end. I would love to know other people's opinions on what you think the actual story of this was. I personally believe that Leonardo DiCaprio was actually a US Marshal traveling to this island to figure something out, but I think that the people on the island were just so good at manipulating and being able to tell a story that they made him believe that he was actually a patient on this island. So this for me just gets an absolute solid 5 stars. It was great, and I just love the conversation around this. Next up, we've got The Revenant. The Revenant is a brutal survival movie set in the unforgiving American frontier of the 1820s. The story follows a frontiersman left for dead after a devastating bear attack and betrayed by members of his own hunting party. He kind of just gets left with his son and 2 other members. One is young and one is, an adult. And it just turns into this absolute revenge, burning need for justice movie because this man that you see here basically kills this man's son. It just goes through the relentless endurance and need for justice that Leonardo DiCaprio has. He pushes himself through freezing landscapes, starvation, and pretty much just like near impossible physical suffering in order to survive, just to get this revenge. It's not about conventional revenge, about just straight up there getting your justice. It's more about endurance, both physical and emotional. For me, this movie just stands out for its extraordinary visual craftsmanship. I mean, the cinematography is just absolutely breathtakingly beautiful. It's shot largely in natural light with long fluid takes that just make this movie feel as though you are placed inside of it, and it's so immersive. I would say if you are somebody who likes dialogue, you're very focused on lots going on, this movie is probably not for you. There's just a lot of scenes in this where it is just pure cinematography, pure you watching, not really listening to what's going on. So for me, I gave this a 4 stars because I did enjoy it, but like I say, for me, there was a lot of silence and a lack of dialogue. Next up, we have got Django. This month seemed to be my Leonardo DiCaprio month. Every movie I watched seemed to have him in it somewhere. This is another Tarantino movie that just blends revenge and Western into one. It's set in the American South just before the Civil War, and it focuses a lot on slavery. It is a very moving film about slavery, and sometimes I found this very hard to watch, knowing that stuff like this used to happen, and unfortunately in some parts of the world still does. This story basically follows an enslaved man, Django, who is freed by a German bounty hunter, and this bounty hunter and Django work together to track down these outlaws. Together they form an unlikely partnership that ultimately leads Django on a mission to rescue his wife from a brutal plantation owner. The plantation owner is Leonardo DiCaprio. The dialogue is razor sharp and often stretches into long, tension-filled exchanges before erupting into sudden action. There's a scene that sticks out very particularly in my head when the German bounty hunter and Django are sitting talking to Leonardo DiCaprio about how much Django's wife is worth. Basically, it comes to light that Django and the German bounty hunter are only there to buy off one of Leonardo DiCaprio's slaves because they know each other and because it's Django's wife. I forgot to actually say here, the whole point of what I was trying to say is the dialogue is really, really gripping, and in this scene between Django, the German bounty hunter, and Leonardo DiCaprio, this whole dialogue, it's just building up and building up and building up until bang, there's loads of action. And yeah, the dialogue in this usually always leads to action. That was what I was trying to say, but I just don't think my brain was working properly when I recorded this. This movie for me was absolutely just heart-wrenching. I mean, it was really satisfying to watch Django kill people, but at the end, it just, everything went wrong at the end. And I remember thinking, no, please don't end like this. And then it just became the most absolute cathartic ending you've ever seen in your whole life. Django's really good with his words, and I love how he manipulates the slave owners. He gets himself free from being a slave, shoots the slave owners, frees the rest of the other slaves, and then goes back to Leonardo DiCaprio's house and just blows up the whole place. Oh, goddamn, it was so satisfying. The final act isn't just about revenge, really. It's sort of about reclaiming power on his own terms after everything that's happened to him. For me, this was a 4.5 stars. Honestly, thinking about it, this could also easily be a 5-star rating. Next up, we've got the Grand Budapest Hotel. This is one of the first Wes Anderson movies that I really put my mind to watching. I've watched Fantastic Mr. Fox as a kid, but I don't really classify that as intentional watching, you know. I'm just a small baby at that point. This was a whimsical, meticulously crafted story set in the fictional republic of Dubrovka between the wars. It follows the adventures of this legendary hotel concierge and his young, loyal protege, Zero, after one of the hotel's wealthy guests dies under suspicious circumstances and leaves behind a priceless painting. Basically, the hotel concierge is seen as being a potential murder suspect, and it just follows this whole plot of them trying to escape. But what unfolds is part murder mystery and part nostalgic reflection on a vanished Europe. The narrative jumps across time periods, framed as a story within a story, and the colours, the camera angles, and the cinematography of this is just absolutely beautiful. It's such a playful movie, but it's also eccentric and visually dazzling. But it's also surprisingly poignant, and it's a stylish ode to friendship in a world that exists now mostly in memory. It's such a great watch. I didn't really know what I was expecting when I first started watching this, but I was very, very pleasantly surprised, which is why I gave it 4 stars. Next up, we've got Princess Mononoke. Mononoke? One of the two. I apologise. This is, oh my god, this is just such a good movie. It's so epic, and it blends the importance of the environment with human drama. It's set in a mystical version of Japan as it follows a young warrior who becomes entangled in a conflict between forest spirits and humans exploiting the land for iron and industry. Basically, this warrior has this town invaded by this, I want to say it's a hog or a pig, who's basically turned into a demon. He gets his arm, he doesn't get it bit, but the demon's spirit within the hog affects this guy's arm, and basically he goes out on a hunt to try and figure out how to stop all of this from happening. At the heart of the story is this Princess Mononoke herself. She's a fierce warrior raised by wolves, and she sort of represents the voice of nature resisting human encroachment. The film is just so good for its striking morality complexity, because there's not really anyone who's seen as good or evil in this. It's just people and the environment clashing for desires, survival instincts, and the consequences of human ambition. There's so many epic battle scenes in this. If you love a good action movie, especially an animated action movie, this is the one for you. I just think that this movie is so beautiful because it's just a hand-drawn animation. Everything in it looks so whimsical, and it makes me feel very childlike when I watch it from the drawings. I just love how the whole thing is brought to life through this beautiful animation, and I just think that it's so good how it shows you the importance of the environment, that humans are humans and they will try and seek to destroy anything in order for their own gain. This movie for me is just 5 stars. I just watched this the whole time with absolute awe and whimsy, and it was so good that I even made it the background on my home screen on my phone. I freaking love this movie so much. It was so good. And because I was on a Studio Ghibli sort of run, my next movie that I watched was My Neighbor Totoro. Again, such a beautiful, childlike-esque, whimsical movie. It's just such a heartwarming, gentle tale. It explores childhood wonder, family, and the magic of the natural world. The story follows 2 young sisters who move into the countryside with their dad, and their mother is in hospital, and these 2 kids basically discover a hidden world of forest spirits, and the famous one that everybody knows is this really cute, soft, enormous Totoro. I just love the moments of playing this. There's so much curiosity and quiet anticipation which are given the same sort of weight as the fantastical encounters. It just creates a rhythm that feels both realistic and dreamlike, and it's sort of funny how only the kids can see these beautiful forest spirits over the adults. Totoro basically himself just embodies comfort, mystery, and the gentle reassurance of childhood imagination. Again, the animation in this is gorgeous, and the score in this movie, I immediately looked up on Spotify My Neighbor Totoro score. It's so good, and it's such relaxing music too. This is just easily an absolute timeless classic that I can see myself, if I have kids, literally I would play this to my kids. I gave this a 4.5 stars. The reason that this is not a 5-star movie for me is because I had just watched Princess Mononoke. I'm sorry, I really don't know how to pronounce that. I should really learn. For me, I just like the action a bit more in this movie than in My Neighbor Totoro. But My Neighbor Totoro, I don't know, it could easily be a 5-star rating. I just give it 4.5 because I don't know. I just did. The last movie I watched was 28 Years Later, The Bone Temple. Apologise for how blurry this image is. There was no good images on Google for whatever reason. This is basically a continuation of the 28 Days Later universe. It's basically a post-apocalyptic horror saga set decades after the original Rage virus outbreak. The film drops you straight back into a shattered world where survival has mutated into something stranger and more terrifying, because you follow this little kid called Spike who gets caught up in this absolute disgusting, brutal cult led by this unhinged Sir Lord Jimmy Crystal, who thinks that Dr. Kelson is Satan, is his father, and it follows these 2 different storylines of the cult and the awful things that they do, followed by Dr. Kelson, who is sort of doing experiments on one of the infected, and it comes to light at the end that the drugs and the experimentation that Dr. Kelson had been doing on one of these infected actually helps the infected's humanity to resurface. There was a part in this, which I'm not going to say because it is so freaking gross and hard to think about, where I genuinely had to look away and close my eyes because it was really, really gross. If you're not someone who likes blood, gore, yeah, do not watch this movie whatsoever. I went with my friend, and I gave us a couple of choices of movies to watch. One of them was Zootropolis, and about halfway through the scene that I could not watch, I said to my friend, I was like, we could have been watching Zootropolis right now, but, anyways, yeah. So the title, The Bone Temple, sort of refers to Kelson's haunting ossuary, which is just this absolute crazy monument built from the remains of those lost to the epidemic. It's literally just a bone temple. Oh man, the ending in this was so satisfying. I'm so happy with the ending. Yeah, I'm not going to spoil it too much. I gave this a 3.5 stars because I haven't actually watched any of the other movies in this, which, you know, is my own issue. But also, like I say, sometimes the gore, even for me, was just a little bit too much. There was times sort of where I was not really struggling to understand the movie, but I was trying to figure out exactly what was happening within the movie. But that's all of my movies that I watched in February. I watched 10 in total. This month, I'm going to try and watch more series of movies. So, The Lord of the Rings, Pirates of the Caribbean. Those are the only two that I can think of that I want to watch. I don't know if I'll watch, you know, The Lord of the Rings and the Pirates of the Caribbean, but I do want to start watching a series of movies rather than just loads of individual ones. I hope that you enjoyed this. Let me know if you've watched any of these movies, and let me know what you thought of them. And if you haven't, let me know which one you'd be interested in watching. I am trying to improve these videos talking about movies. I honestly find it kind of hard to articulate my thoughts on what I've watched and put them into words. But yeah, that's been all the movies that I watched in February.